Good evening. We have today a special guest, Dutch falconer, very active and well-known falconer, Miss Tula Stapert. And we would like to ask her to tell forgotten pages in the history of Dutch falconry, to tell us about Dutch falconer, ornithologist and bird artist, Mr Henk Slijper. Please, words for you.
Yeah. When I met Henk Slijper, I was still a student, and he was the example of the main artist in falconry. And his pictures were well known, and he had an accident and one arm was lame, so he couldn't paint so well anymore, and he made normally a lot of big pictures, and then he retreated and he only made small pictures in his studio in Eemdijk, which is in the middle of my hunting fields. Mm-hmm. And every time we passed, you know, you could see on the outside what was his house. And he was a friend of Joost van der Wal, very good, but he was also very depressed in that period. He was already on the end of his life. And but I got acquainted, and he used to be a very handsome, beautiful man, and also a ladies' lover. So he allowed me to come in, and he loved it. And so the first things we've done is go out together with the old men, with Joost and Henk and Evert van der Wal. Evert van der Wal is also a very interesting falconer who is among us, and we went out just in the field somewhere on an estate, and we went bird watching. And Henk was very well known. He would say, "Stop the car, and I want to listen." And then we opened the window, and then he could say, "Oh, that's the koekoek, oh, that's this, oh, that's that." And of course I had coffee and gevulde koeken, which is a Dutch cake, from a little basket, and that was, you know, his romance. And we did it once a year, and but he never painted any more falconry at all in my time. And of course I wanted to have a falconry painting. And so one day I have saved all my money, and I knew there was one painting left over. And we went to his house, and out came this goshawk, which was a litho, and which he painted. So it was a goshawk in the Meuse, and I was able to retrieve it. And his paintings were always very dark, but this was a goshawk in the Meuse, so it was exactly what Henk Slijper, everything Henk Slijper was. And he did exhibitions, small exhibitions, and there were, you know, something on a table with you know, little things, because he couldn't paint, you know, be elaborate with his body. He couldn't use his body so much. Huiskens is a friend of his who had a lot of contact with him, who still has. There's a lot of paintings from him. And he is probably going to make a foundation in the name of his for Henk Slijper. One of his students is Johan Koolman, and everybody knows Johan Koolman, but he learned it. He's been taught by Henk Slijper. And I knew from Henk we corresponded a lot, you know. And I mean, it was horrible to read, you know. He would write a letter, and he would write upside down and on the side and in the corner, and then it would be an arrow, and you had to look down to find out, and there were always wisdoms and discussions, and I would send a postcard, and he would make a discussion about it, and it was, you know, he was a lot of inspiration, you know. He would keep you sharp. It was a man who learned about nature since he was a child, and it was the tough way. He became an artist, but he was so he had such a good eye on nature and on birds that he was a true ornithologist, and he became a falconer in the end. well, he was a falconer as well because he painted all his birds. But I didn't hear very much about his falconry, how if he was good, if he was innovative. But we do know that he made the Slijper hood, and which was a combination between the Dutch hood and the Indian hood, and that was for a goshawk, because he wanted to hood the goshawk. And he had no, I called it, where you put the leather on to make the hood, the model. So especially not a goshawk model. So he made his own hood, which is still very well known. That hood. And that was Henk Slijper. And Henk Slijper was already not in. He went out of the club. He was also a member of Adrian Mollen, but he left the club the moment they started breeding. Used breeding bred birds for falconry, because that was not falconry. And so that shows a little bit of his. He was a rebel, a true rebel, and I enjoyed that because he could say things that were so nucky, but you could make a comment and he would laugh about it, and. But he would, for him, falconry was aesthetic, and he would not wander off the path of the aesthetics. But he had a big influence on Adrian Mollen. All the yearbooks are painted from him. All the front pages are from Henk Slijper until Johan Koolman took over. And he did a lot of comments on the treaties, like for example in the books from Frederik from Hohenstaufen. He would make equations from certain pictures. He could tell where the birds came from, how they were hunted. There were so many things he would do. He was also what we call an ornithology secretary, administrator. Every member at Adrian Mollen had to bring in his what they hunted per year, what they hunt per year, and what you see in the field, and what news you get back from the field. And that institute still exists, and I think Adrian Mollen has one of the most extensive libraries on Dutch ornithological development. Of I think they have 50 years there, 75 years of status data, which is quite because it still exists.
Do you remember roughly when he was born? About
he passed away about 8 years ago, and he was roughly 70 odd, because he wasn't very old, maybe 80, so something like that. Yeah, he was younger than Joost. So he was from the 30s or something, 1930s.
And how do you think he became ornithologist first and falconer then, or vice versa? First of all, he became falconer and then, or in parallel?
No, I think first it wasn't his profession. His profession was an artist.
A professional artist.
Professional artist.
I see.
He made his money out of paintings. He painted children. Not only falconry. He painted everything. But he was a nature lover, and in Holland in that time, especially when they had an educational children's youth nature club, and this was only for the real ones, the real nature lovers, not just for fun, and and they learned how to look, to have the books on nature. Another thing is he worked close with Professor Faust, and Professor Faust was the one who made all the books on peregrines, and he drew them. And the funny thing is also he drew all the Antillean drawings from Antillean birds. And Professor Faust was in the Antilles, because my husband has even worked with Professor Faust. But Henk Slijper never been there. I said, how? And I come from the Antilles. I said, how can you draw these paintings, you know? It was unbelievable. They were so real. He knew also all the backgrounds were related to the nature the bird comes from. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's and also I still have books from him. I still use them. Mm-hmm. In school we had there's a school plate, we call it, with all the birds from Holland. They're on it. That used to be in school. Every school had those what do you call them? Plates.
Mm-hmm. So it seems that he was not only an animalist artist.
No,
he worked
all
wider, all round. So so animal just for soul and heart, and all the rest for housing and living. I may say. I see.
He was also, you can see him on the pictures in the first festival. Mm-hmm. You know, with Sheikh Zayed. Mm-hmm. He was there with Dijkstra, and you hear, I've heard some funny stories, but you have to let other people talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any regular exhibits in the memory of him organized at schools or maybe in some halls or art galleries? No.
Like I said, it went out as a candle. Mm-hmm. And it's a shame, because he was a great artist, and but he was, as a human being, he was difficult. Mm-hmm. For his wife, for his children, for himself, very very difficult, and which makes people don't want to collaborate with him. You know, it's and only if you. He had very few friends, and I really hope that the Huiskens will take care that his memory is not extinct, because he has paintings from him, a lot of paintings from him. Mm-hmm. Because he gave a lot away as well.
Mm-hmm. I see. So
he was very generous. He had a big hole in his hand. He couldn't keep money, and he died very poor as well. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting that such a combination of ornithology, falconry, and if you said he was a professional artist, that means that he had simultaneously two hobbies.
Yeah.
Falconry first and ornithology second, or vice versa. That's too much for one man.
Yeah.
And also, if you said was extra class artist, talented people means automatically all talented people are difficult.
Yeah.
Yes, this is a rule.
Yeah. It's a rule.
Rule for human society. So do we like or not?
But maybe you can remember in my house that goshawk on the wall.
Yes.
That was he painted that one, and that was a litho. That was just a litho. But the litho was normal, you know. Was all the time he made with aquarelle. Mm-hmm. He made a different painting from it, and this one was painted with the background of a muse. Mm-hmm. And because most of his paintings are very dark, and he used the light. You know when you have a little light in a muse, and it came just on the face of the goshawk, and especially you could see it with the white eyebrows. Wow. And so you have a strong look on the face and a powerful body on top of a perch, and you knew it was dark, you know. And I knew that was because his studio was dark, so he was dark. Everything was dark. Mm-hmm. And when he moved out of that studio and he went to another nursery home, he had a lot more light. All of a sudden, his paintings became lighter. He had more light. Mm-hmm. But it was also his way of the way he was.
Mm-hmm. How many languages did he speak?
I have no idea.
No idea.
I think English. He could speak English and
German, French, and so on.
I don't know because in Holland that generation we had same as me. We had you have 4 languages in school. 4. Yeah. Dutch, English, French, and German. You have to learn 3 languages.
Obligatory?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I've been learned French since I was 10. They teach French when you are 10 years old because it was the most difficult language. English when you were 12 and German as well.
Okay.
Now German 13, a bit later.
My congratulations to all Dutch school children.
Yeah, but not anymore.
Not anymore?
No, it's just over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. And did he publish any albums with his collected works altogether during his life?
Yeah, I have some of it.
How many of them he produced?
I have no idea because I have one from Professor Faust where with World WWF made a book about raptors and owls, and Faust made the text and he did the pictures. And of course, but you hardly can get them, these encyclopedias, you know, he made with Professor Faust of all the raptors, now all the peregrines of the world. And the Antillean, I cannot get it anymore because I would love to have that one before. And I have a small book from him with the variety of all his different kind of paintings, which includes pictures of children, of his own children, of his house, of his surroundings, different techniques he used, Japanese techniques with the pen, with
ink,
special ink, aquarelle, gouache, you know, all different kind of techniques he used.
So not only oil on canvas, not watercolor, everything.
No, he tried everything. So he had this one lovely drawing from a goshawk in Japanese style with the Japanese technique.
So it was quite universal. Wonderful. And you think and you consider that he is the main Dutch artist, of the second half of 20th century before Johan Koolman,
because Johan is a lot younger. Yeah, definitely. Because well, in falconry, you know, Dutch falconry, because I think one of his examples is of course Wolf, because Wolf was the first one who painted with the natural surroundings, and he did the same thing, but a totally different style, totally different style. But it's my personal opinion. I admire him very much, and of course, this man, he's so old and he flirted with me, you know. It was amazing. And I was the only one who could come close to him, you know, because you were a woman. And when we went hunting, the one time I had he cracked me up, you know. The falcon could catch a crow. And I climbed over a gate and ran and climbed over this and that and, you know, finally get to in one straight line. And when I came back, he just opened the gate, you know. You could open the gate.
A real gentleman, for real lady, who jumped over the gate 5 minutes before.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, he was a lovely guy. Yeah. Well, I enjoyed him, and I was no competition whatsoever because he was high school with Joost. They had fanatic discussions, and Evert van der Beek as well. It was a very valued falconer. He's also my mentor, and but with the four of us, we did so much together, and I was just a beginner, you know.
Where he was born, in your part of Holland, in Eastern Holland, or in other parts of the
No,
north?
I think where because his house was in the middle of my hunting grounds.
I see. But you mentioned that he was rebel. He became rebel due to some difficult moments in his life, or he was just of such character, yes, to fight and contradict and
always,
create some obstacles heroically to.
It's basically, you know, it's like a Spartan education. You always disagree. Yeah, and then you start the discussion. But when it gets too personal, yeah, then you cannot discuss anymore. You know, then no, I don't want to know about it. You know, like for example, that he went out of the club, and he was angry with everybody. Yeah, he wouldn't get into the discussion about falconry. You know, about then, but he was consequent. He would not touch a falcon anymore. He stopped completely with falconry.
Decisive man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Decisive. And did he explain somehow or just?
No, I never talked about it. I heard about it.
Okay.
No,
About
no,
other his talents.
I was not in the position to discuss this. We would discuss paintings. That was the only field I could approach him a little bit. You know.
And do you know any obituaries published in his memory in English, or everything is in Dutch only?
Yeah, there's only, and I think there's not even anything published from him after he died.
Even
I have
in
to
Dutch?
look. Yeah, I have to look at it. Yeah.
And you mentioned that his members of his family are still alive, and
his wife is still alive, Thea, and his children, of course, but he had no contact with them anymore. It was a sad situation in the end, very sad situation. Like I said, he was a very difficult man. Also for his wife, he was very difficult. And I don't know anything about his marriage, and I don't want to know about it. I don't want to give any. I can understand it.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
So thank you very much that you have covered small gap in the history of European falcon in the face of your country. Yeah. Because we are very happy and we're very lucky that you could do that, because there are so many neglected or partly forgotten or completely forgotten outstanding people in our history.
I like to close with a true what Joost said, because he was also a great admirer of Henk Dijkstra. He said, only a true falconer can be such a true painter, you know. And he had his heart well into falconry,
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.